Hello and welcome to my Synthesizer Screencast. First off, I'll be talking you through the 4 sounds I've created using the ES2 synthesizer within Logic, which is found here. And the first synthesizer I created, which I'm going to show you, is the kick. Basically, in this, I'm only using one oscillator on a sine wave. Full signal, 100%. And what I wanted to do was sweep the pitch downwards. So I turned off the modulation here, which was there, and I swept this green arrow up towards the plus sign in the middle box here, and it just sweeps the whole signal down. And after that, I decided to adjust the attack so it's short. So just how a kick would be, quick, sudden noise, and as you just heard me play, these higher ones here, that is basically the kick, but on my MIDI controller at home here, I just put the I just swept down the octave so it's fairly low, that low. And yeah, so basically if I change the attack just like then, it's like a rising synth. But if you get a short one, quick, makes a kick. And the decay is how long it takes to disappear, basically. Anyway, that's my kick. There's not much else going on there. Fairly basic, really. Yeah. Next off, I made the sub bass. Where is it? Here it is. Also using the ES2. This one. This is the same sub bass we used on, me and Simon used on our Benevolence project we've been working on for release through Morph Records. And once again, it's fairly easy. We're using 2 oscillators here. One oscillator 1 is on sine wave, and oscillator 2 is on the sawtooth wave. I think the percentage is 70-30. And basically, if we turned off oscillator 2 as such, we'd get just a pure sine wave. But when we do use oscillator 2, we get a not an overdriven signal, but it just adds a little bit more grit to the signal, to the bass. Basically all I did for that was do that. Really, really, really nice bass to use. I actually recommend it if you're making any electronic music, but really, really nice bass to use. And all I basically did was just lower the octave on my MIDI keyboard to get this really nice bass. Really, really smooth. So that is my second ES2 synthesizer. Now my third one, which is here. I have 3 tracks of it. Basically because I don't have some of these plugins at home. Like for example, I don't have Guitar Rig, so it won't work. So all I did was bounce it to audio here, which is the actual track I'm using in the project. In the bounced project I will be handing in. But for now, I'll just take you through the original, which is this ES2 swell. And it's fairly it's not the nicest of signals to listen to personally, but with all the modifications I've added after and plugins and automation, it really suits the song and it fits perfectly. But for this I'm using 2 oscillators, one once again on a sawtooth, and the oscillator 2 on a sine wave, and the triangle is at 4622, and all I'm doing is sending it to envelope 3, because what I wanted was a swell. So I raised the attack to 1700 milliseconds to get a really nice slow volume swell. I don't know if you can hear that. This is only being recorded through my 57. And the decay as well, which is the release time, essentially. So how long it takes for the signal to end. So the signal here, the MIDI, the binary here, is fairly high up, and like I said, it's not the most pleasant things to use. So what I did was here I bounced it to audio, and I added Guitar Rig. This is where all the modifications come in. I added Guitar Rig, and I wish I could show you, but I can't, so I'll just explain. I had a ring modulator on it, which is almost like a tremolo effect. It's wavy. It doesn't pan. It's just a bit glitchy, and I automated that, as you might be able to see. Who knows? Anyway, you can see the automation data here. So basically, so in some stages of the song, I use more of the ring modulator than in others, and so it gets a bit more intense. But and I used 3 automations in Guitar Rig, and also a single EQ frequency. And I actually did this in quite a lot of the pads and synthesizers I'm using, and all I wanted was for the audio to feel all washy and go in and out, and so it has some sense of dynamic range. Also have some delay, And yeah, so here, the reason why there is feedback in this signal is because I boosted the repeats of the delay, and I even do this with my other stuff. So in my band, like in between songs, I use the delay to have something playing, so continuous, and you can get some really cool effects using delay. You can get infinite effects, but in this instance, I have used it, and it just adds that little bit more to it. It pushes it, and for this massive crescendo here at the very end. And I've obviously compressed it. Yeah. Also, on top of that, I've created a bus 7 here, and in bus 7, I have Space Designer. So it's a reverb bus, and I call it RC Verb because it's in large spaces, indoor spaces. If I can find it. Anyway, there's this reverb called Roman Cathedral, and it's really, really nice, really smooth, and this is one of the first times I've actually used it, and I prefer it over most of the reverbs in here, and I recommend it completely. Can't seem to find it. But anyway, here it is. Sorry about that. Yeah, accidentally clicked on a different reverb. Anyway, yeah, and basically piling reverb delay together, as well as the ring modulators in guitar rig I'm using, all adds to the sound, and with the delay and reverb, it creates a really nice ambient washy effect, and I really like it. I recommend it. But that is basically what I'm doing with this, from the original signal in the ES2, and yeah. So here's my final. Oh, here's my final audio track of the synthesizer. No idea if you can hear that. I've also panned it, and obviously changed the volume. Yeah, you'll be able to hear it in the song. EQ sweep, ring modulation, and that's that glitchy sound you can hear there. Right, so this is my fourth and final synthesizer that I created using the ES2 in Logic, and I called it the Rising Synth because it's a rising synthesizer. I'll play it for you. I'm not sure if you're able to hear it properly, but you'll definitely be able to hear it in the final song I'll be handing in. And basically what I'm doing, I'm using 3 oscillators here. The first one between the sine wave and the FM, more edged towards the FM. The second one between the square and the pulse wave, more edged towards the square. I can't tell you what the exact measurement of that is, if that's even the right word. And the third oscillator is on the noise signal, which is just white noise. And the I'm using 62, I think that's 62% of the sine wave slash FM of oscillator 1. I'm using 15% of oscillator 2 and 16% of oscillator 3. And in the middle here, in the middle bar, there is, I've changed target to pitch 1, 2 and 3 because that is what I wanted to edit all together. You can change, if you wanted to change one independently, you could just, so for example, the second oscillator, you could do that here or on any one of these and just put the target to pitch 2, and that will change it independently, whilst excluding the others. And what I did was switch to modulation, which was here, off, so it got rid of a yellow arrow, which is also here, and it was in the middle here, along with this green one. But what I did was take that off, put the green arrow all the way to the top here to 1, and then change the source to envelope 1. So basically in envelope 1 here, the attack, the longer the attack, the longer the sweep, the rise of the synthesizer will be. For example, and the decay is how long it takes to come down, and basically that's quite annoying, but I just use that as an example. Yeah, so the attack is all the way up, so the sweep, the rise, goes on for as long as it can before it comes down, along with the decay, although the decay isn't at the top, it's I'd say it's 3/4 of the way up. And yeah, that's all that's really going on here, to be honest. All I did was change the octave on the on my Axiom Air 32 Mini here, my MIDI controller, and yeah, so but if you wanted to do the opposite, which I actually did do, but I'm not sure if I'm actually gonna use it in the final edit at the moment, is like a cascading synth, a lower a lowering synth. I don't know really what to call it, and all this one is exactly the same, but it's just coming down instead of rising up. And that can be changed. I'll go back to the rising synth, but that can be changed with this green arrow here. Yeah, so the reason why I put it all the way up there was because I wanted a rising synth instead of a cascading synth. If I wanted a cascading synth, which is the term I'm using for it, all you do is put the green arrow all the way to the bottom here, and you get a cascading synth. Whereas if you put it at the top, it's a rising synth, and this is done actually in quite a lot of pop songs today, in drops. Obviously, it's done a lot better, but yeah. So that's all I'm really doing. And if I change the attack here, just I thought I might add this. If I change the attack, so the lower the attack, the less of a rise it has. So that one actually goes down. There's more of a decay there than there is an attack, so it does go down in that. But you heard that first little bit where it goes, where it just bleeps. That's how fast the attack is. 21 milliseconds. And if I just rise it, it sounds like a siren. But if I put more attack than decay, there will be a longer rise and a fall. Perhaps that's a better word for it, a falling synth instead of a cascading synth. But you get the idea. But yeah, that's all that's really happening here in this rising synthesizer. Yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, see ya.